as we approached day one, we had a lot more students than we usually had. So I was very excited, and I was a little scared, to be quite honest, because you never know who's going to show up on that first day. You know, you have a little bit of apprehension with parents leaving their kids for you and trusting their kids for 2 weeks. So you want to make sure everything runs as smoothly as possible for them.
I am Dr. Lynn Washington, and I'm feeling great. I'm excited for the Summer 2025 Journeys in Justice program. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody and for us to get started on what's going to be an excellent 2-week experience. And I'm feeling great.
No, just making sure that everything's scheduled and that the students are well taken care of. You can see around me here, pan around. We're going to take care of them this week.
And as you know from looking at our itinerary from today, we have a very packed day. So on the first day, what a normal first day looks like is we welcome students and their parents to our campus here at Kennesaw State. We're based on the southern campus, which is in Marietta. And then the rest of the day is structured around orientation. So beginning with a session just about safety, how to navigate themselves on a college campus, some of the expectations around that. Then we move into some of the intellectual aspects of the program by doing some close readings of the Odyssey and reading them in dialogue with some of the other civil rights texts, or raising questions to familiarize themselves with the kinds of themes that we'll be exploring through the program. And there's many themes, but the primary themes of the program deal with hospitality, Zania, Nasta's homecoming, as well as this issue of legacy. Yes, so Journeys in Justice is a 2-week residency program that is designed around, in terms of geography, the route of the Freedom Rides. And we want them to actually visit the sites and to get a good understanding, a hands-on understanding of the Freedom Rides, its significance to our history, and its role in civic engagement. So during the first 3 days after orientation, we're pretty much here on the Kennesaw campus, so just getting the flow of what it means to be a college student, kind of what are the expectations. And then we began to visit the local Atlanta community. So one of the key sites that we visited very early on this year was the Carlos Museum at Emory University. There are some themes that they have in that collection that are related to the Odyssey as well as Greek mythology, so they can see them hands-on.
This is Pan, you know the story of Pan?
The movie?
Yeah.
The vibes are very, very nerdish, very nerding out right now. I love everything here. This is like top 3 museums in Atlanta. You guys should come.
The Carter Museum is very important to our pedagogy and our curriculum. He's a president from Georgia, and he was a civil rights president. So we want them to understand that the civil rights movement is not specifically a Black thing, it's a human rights thing, and it connects the history of Atlanta to other movements around the world.
My name is Jennifer Purcell. I'm a professor of public administration at Kennesaw State University, and I am here at Constellations in Atlanta on Auburn Avenue with the KSU Journeys in Justice program. You have a sense of the rich history. Being in a space that has the energy of the voices and the conversations, the people and the ideals that helps change history. Knowing that those movements and all the interaction and connection happened in this space is just incredibly powerful, and it's humbling to be here knowing that those important conversations took place in this very room.
I'm feeling good, you know, it's a good day, good weather, good lesson today, you know. Learned some new things about the area and about the preservation of the buildings and all of that. It's pretty cool, it's pretty cool.
We can do far more together than we can apart. And I think that's something to learn very early, that collective efforts magnify product.
For some students in our cohort, almost always this is the first time that they will leave the state of Georgia, or they will leave their parents' care, so it's always an exciting time for them. It's an important site for us for a couple of reasons. One reason is it's another dimension of the importance of history and the humanities, how you can use it to transform communities, how you can use it to preserve sites, how you can use it to raise important questions about the world. So it's an example of how a site that was specifically related to the Civil War era evolves in its meaning and in its usage to address questions related to all wars and issues of how do we reflect on what happened here to ask better questions and engage ourselves in themes of human rights.
Yeah, I think it's been my favorite one so far. I low-key cried at the prisoner of war returning video. So that was really powerful, so yeah.
My name is Sue Morrison, and I'm the hospitality coordinator here at Koinonia Farm. And your group came and had lunch with us, and then we went on a tour of the farm. Usually everyone's favorite thing about the tour is going into the chocolate room, and they got samples of the chocolates and some other goodies that we make. We are an intentional Christian community, and so we strive to live together, work together, eat together. We all live in little houses on campus, and this farm was founded to be a demonstration plot for the kingdom of God, and we believe that all men are brothers and sisters, and that we can live together in harmony.
Okay, well, you can put this one out here.
Okay, so every night I, as the navigator, lead a group discussion with the kids, and I just ask them questions about the day, what they learned, what they enjoyed, what they didn't, just trying to kind of get a feel for what's going to work next year, and also just how they're feeling in the moment, helping them process through some of these difficult discussions.
Our church. And then another person came and he was like, I thought this was God's church. And he was like, that's besides the point.
Exactly. This is another really interesting point about the weaponization of religion and about how historically Black Christianity and white Christianity have been two very different institutions. Do you think that that's changing, or how do you think, what do you sort of observe in your own,
People still use religion to weaponize their hate today.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's ever going to change. People will hitch on to something that everybody likes and use it to their advantage. It's always going to be a fact.
Day 6 is a special day because we are in Jimmy Carter's hometown of Plains, Georgia. Plains is where Jimmy Carter was born, where he attended school, where his family owned a farm, and we visit all those sites, as well as there's a historic main street in Plains, Georgia, where the students get a chance to try peanut ice cream that is a local favorite, as well as mingle with the locals in the area as they learn a little bit more of that history.
Okay, we're going shopping because that's so cool. And I almost went in that store right there, but I got scared when I saw the political buttons, shall we say.
One of the highlights, I think, for them is visiting his boyhood home, where they can see where he slept, visit the farm, exchange some pets with the animals, and just have a little bit of a slower pace to reflect on Jimmy Carter and his early childhood. And there's some themes that are not entirely different than some of the things that we're looking at with Odysseus, and kind of coming to terms with what it meant for him to have a home and to return to home, to long to go back home, and to have a break from war. So you kind of see some of those same parallels at Jimmy Carter's boyhood home in Plains, Georgia, and his, of course, final residence before he died in December of 2024 is also in Plains, Georgia as well.
Emphasis they put on the segregation and the racial divide, because they could have just left that out. They could have been like, well, it was have one little section about it. This was a high school,
But instead, they had those displays of like the books piled up and everything, and to show like how many more teachers the white school had. Yeah. So what do you think did that like add anything to the museum for you or comments?
It did. It literally put in perspective how much Jimmy Carter was conditioned to hate Black people. But he grew from his environment and basically become better than that. And now he's like world renowned for peace and for equality. So I think that's pretty cool.
And go and be with the rest of the crowd, or you can be with the people that are willing to make the change.
No.
I have, but I was really young.
I have once.
Yes.
So day 7, it gets real because we've been on the road now for a little while and people are somewhat acclimated to the task ahead. And it's also an exciting day because we are heading out to Alabama, and Alabama was a very important state for many of the historical milestones of the movement.
This picture is right here. Wow. And look behind you. You see the Benmore. While the traffic is empty, you all are gonna stand at the street arm in arm. Hi, I'm Valerie Smetley. I am the owner of Tours of Montgomery. Tours of Montgomery is located right here in historical Centennial Hill. This is the neighborhood that's depicted in the Negro Motorist Green Book, and it is the intersection where the bus boycott was orchestrated, the Freedom Riders stayed here, and the Selma to Montgomery March ended here.
So from there, we walk down the street to the Dexter Parsonage, and the Dexter Parsonage also resonates with our theme of hospitality. Dexter Parsonage is where King stayed while he was pastoring in the city Montgomery. As much as it is a city of hospitality or a story of hospitality, there's also stories of hostility and racial hate, animosity. One of the highlights for that tour is they tell you about how this parsonage was bombed. You actually stand right in the area where the bomb was tossed and exploded. Fortunately, no one was hurt or killed during that incident, but unfortunately, there were many other bombings where people were not as lucky.
2 things. Okay, tell me what we did.
We were in Alabama and we looked at stuff where we couldn't take pictures.
We did. What was the content of that stuff?
Well, what I remember is Lamar looked very depressed because he wasn't allowed to use his camera. And we were in the basement of the church where Dr. King preached.
And people knew about this program. And some people would want to stop it because people would like say, oh, you're teaching DEI, you're indoctrinating the children, and stuff like that. Some people would actually want to get violent. And, not to the extent of bombing our bus, but I was just thinking, I was like, some people are really out here like that. And that might happen to us. We might experience stuff like that. Because some people hate these type of programs.
So we might try to get our grant canceled or something like that.
Yeah, sure. That's a great point, and that's very real and that's very serious. And that's why we're so lucky and so grateful to be privately funded by grants that can allow us to have these kinds of programs in a time when it's being challenged really heavily. So, shout out to the Teagle Foundation.
There's a Greek word in the Odyssey that happens a lot. It's kleos, and it means glory. In this context, we're going to call it legacy. And what I want you to think about in tomorrow's session is how glory or legacy depicted in this context versus that in the Odyssey. So I'm going to give you a hint. In the Odyssey, it was a lot of battles with Odysseus talking about he's the man, don't forget my name. But you're going to come across a different interpretation of legacy and how people are being remembered or forgotten here. And I want y'all to think about that. So kleos or legacy or glory, you can think about those 3 as your keywords.
the memorial for lynching victims in the United States, and at the top we got tons of like slabs remembering the dead who have passed on because of this horrendous practice in American history. It has only enlightened me really on how many there were. I knew lynching was bad, but I didn't know it was as far-reaching as it was.
Following that session, we then have a little bit of time to get down to the Alabama River to take a boat ride to the National Park Monument, Sculpture Park, I should say. And this is a new site. This is our first time here. At the very end of this exhibition, there's a towering wall where the Equal Justice Initiative has compiled a list of names of persons that were formerly enslaved. And the students have an opportunity to take a moment of silence, to pause, and to leave a flower. So we take a moment to think about the other legacies of slavery that are not often covered in our state curriculum or can be viewed as controversial, to say the least. We want to make sure that we give all those histories their day to be relived and to be reflected on. We do it in reverse. We start at the National Park Service site at Alabama State University, which is a historically Black college. So students visit that campus, they visit the National Park site there, and then we load up on a bus and we head through Selma. So when we reach the Edmund Pettus Bridge, this famous bridge where the civil rights activists were turned back and then brutally beaten, we have a moment where we cross the bridge too. This year we were particularly lucky because there were descendants of the activists who were doing the education campaign on that bridge, and we got a period of time to hear that movement told in their own words. So it was a really great moment to see and to hear the history of the bridge as well as to relive it. From there, we get back in the bus and then we continue to Birmingham. We arrive in Birmingham and we're welcomed by not one but two judges, Judge Tamara Johnson as well as Judge Bowling.
I think it's always important to let children, students, anybody that wants to listen and want to learn, because there's no point in reinventing a wheel, to let them know what struggles we had to go through, what lessons we have learned, because as I said, my blessing was that people saw things in me that I didn't see in myself.
So Judge Tamara Johnson gave us this assignment to basically write a reflection on our time in Birmingham and how it's changed our views on the civil rights movement, or if we've been emboldened by it.
Well, we're so little. We're inclusion, and then so the body paragraph at 5.
I have a suggestion, y'all. Okay. Every time we have something we want to say, can we raise our hand?
Yes!
celebrates the history of Birmingham, in a sense, industry and the civil rights movement and people who have built Birmingham and contributed to the building of Birmingham, because Birmingham in its past had a lot of steel industry, and based in that steel industry, you have a lot of stories, not only about progress, but a lot of stories, the human stories about inequity and also about agency and perseverance. So, and then it kind of coalesced into how Birmingham is situated today and what we hope for in the future.
So we pause a little bit and we look at these sites, but I think most importantly here, the transition from students being kind of passive recipients of knowledge to them being educators in their own right is complete, because when we arrive in Anniston, we ask the students to lead out the local tour of Anniston, and then they have an opportunity in their own words to express what they learned and some of the things that they're thinking about as it relates to the contemporary relevance of each of these sites. And from there, we return back to our home residence at Kennesaw State University in Georgia.
Well, Anniston, give all yourselves a hand.
This program helped me branch outside of my comfort zone, because I don't really like traveling with, I don't really know for real. But the different colleges that we went to, the different people that I'm dorming with and getting to know, it just helped me figure out, what type of college I want to go to, what environment I want to be in.
A lot of times when you go to the museums or different places, they like to take out the most important things. So I would say going to these museums, it definitely brought out more exposure.
These people who did the Freedom Rides were only a couple of years older than me, and that it takes a lot of courage to do that. So courage doesn't really come with age, it just comes with who you are and how you, sometimes you just gotta step up to do the right thing. And I guess that's what I really want to do after being inspired by these people.
We definitely need to have more people out and talking about this, because this stuff really wasn't that long ago. And we can't move on until everybody acknowledges the mistakes of the past.
I think it's so important now, and I'm learning all these things and about these unsung heroes, and just going so much deeper into Black history than any of my classes.
It inspires me to keep pushing through tough situations in my own life. It reminds me that standing up and staying focused can really make a difference.
This program has really inspired me to be more engaged in my community, want to take more part in what we're doing. Also, it has made me feel more productive, more motivation to keep going, keep striving.
I run a journalism club at my school, and I think it's given me more awareness and more context to the social issues that my club tackles and writes about.
This trip has helped me connect with some sources that I can use for my Gold Award, and it's mostly dealing with things in my community. The first nonprofit that I'm serving will be My Three Sicklers.
Seeing all of these historical marks and how all these historical figures, what they have done, and the courage, like Trenton said, the courage it took them, made me ask myself, would you have that same courage if you were in that same position? And, it's a lot to think about.